All right, high schoolers. So when I was in 8th grade, I guess, we had a sports trainer come to our school to, help us with conditioning and evaluation and to do the whole teamwork bonding stuff. And even though I was on the basketball team, this guy was from Rydell, a company that I didn't know very well for actual basketball gear, but at the end of the event, he was showing off their brand new Rydell basketball shoes. Now, Coach had a strict rule about the color of our basketball shoes, but he didn't really care what brand, and these were exactly the right style. So, yeah, my dad got me Rydell basketball shoes. And then I showed up to practice, and guess what? Everybody's still wearing their Jordans. I was so mad because I never got Jordans in the first place, and I thought this is gonna be awesome because we would all be in our Rydells together. But no, I was like one of the only few who decided to go Rydell while most of the team stuck with what they always wore. And to make matters worse, they were offering such a deal that my dad bought me 2 pairs. 2 pairs! One for practice and one for games. I was so mad, and guess at who? My dad? Well, yeah, but that's just because, I didn't get what I wanted. My dad made the wise, responsible, and reasonable decision, just not the cool one. And no, I was mad at my teammates. Did they do anything to deserve it? Well, no. So why was I mad at them? You see, I didn't realize it at the time, but even then, every time I went to practice or at a game, I was dealing with something that would be a part of my life for a long time: jealousy. You see, jealousy can act like a poison in our lives because once it sets in, we view people differently. They can be the nicest person at our school, but jealousy can change our relationships. Think about it. There are some people that you don't like because they're mean to you. They ignore you or talk down to you. Maybe they try to hit on the person that you're dating. Maybe they talk about you behind your back. And that stuff makes sense. But then sometimes there are just people that you dislike who have never done anything ugly to you at all. And the only reasonable explanation for you not liking them is that you're jealous of them. And it could be for a million different reasons. Their ridiculous good looks, the truck they drive, who they're driving that truck with, the grades they get, the position they have on the team or in the play, the attention they get from everyone, or even the house they live in. Or maybe the reasons are something deeper. Like, I don't know, how they seem to have the perfect unbroken family, how their parents show up at all of their events or games, how they are healthy and never sick, but you're stuck with health issues that no one seems to understand, how it seems like they can have confident conversations with other people so easily, but you can't even speak up in class. Whether your jealousy is over something small or whether it runs deep, here's what I know to be true. Jealousy changes the way that you see others, and it changes the way that you see yourself. When you see the things that other people have that you don't, but wish you did, jealousy can lead you to feeling unhappy about your own life. Even if you were totally happy with your life before, or jealousy can make you feel insecure about who you are or who you aren't. Looking at them makes you feel worse about you. And that's when anger enters the scene, because anger almost always follows jealousy. That person becomes your source of unhappy feelings and eventually the target for your anger. When we feel anger towards someone, it is so much more difficult to celebrate the good things that we have and the good things that they have. So what do we do instead? Well, even if you've never done this, but you probably have, I know you may have felt someone treating you like this. You see, we distance ourselves from people we're jealous from. We talk badly about them behind their backs. We secretly make lists in our heads of everything wrong with them. We don't like them, and we act like it. You see, all of a sudden, we're not good with them, and we're not good with ourselves. And as real as jealousy can be for us, it's not how God intended for us to interact with one another. So, let's take a look at a story today on how we can address this together. See, there was this man named Saul who was the first king over Israel. Yeah, we're going Old Testament today. He was initially known as a good and generous king, courageous in battle, and generally he had the respect of his kingdom. At one point during his rule, he and his people found themselves in a battle against a fairly powerful group of people called the Philistines. Many of you know exactly where we're at, the David and Goliath story. That's right, all right? So just hold on with me, okay? Goliath was a Philistine and a Philistine champion. And if you know the story, then you know that Goliath was taunting the Israelites and their God, God. And that's when David stepped in, saying he was ready to fight Goliath. And Saul heard about this and sent for him. Now, even though everyone, including Saul, thought that David was crazy to go up against Goliath, he sent him into battle to fight Goliath. And you know the story. Without an armor or sword, but only a sling and a stone, he smited the mighty Goliath. Even in a time before Snapchat and TikTok, David became an instant hero to the Israelite people. But his story didn't end on that battlefield. You see, King Saul promoted David because of his courage. David delivered. It says in 1 Samuel 18:5 that whatever mission Saul sent him on, David was so successful that Saul gave him a high rank in the army. This pleased all the troops and Saul's officers as well. You see, David went on to have great success during that time. He was unstoppable. All the people loved him. The Bible says it this way. As they danced, they sang, Saul has slain his thousands and David his tens of thousands. Now, all of this sounds awesome, right? But remember, our story started with Saul. And while David at this point is doing amazing, check out Saul's reaction. Saul was very angry. This refrain displeased him greatly. They have credited David with tens of thousands, he thought. But me with only thousands. What more can he get but the kingdom? And from that time on, Saul kept a close eye on him. That's 1 Samuel 18:8 and 9. And this is crazy to me. Remember the scenes in Lord of the Rings when Legolas and Gimli are keeping score of like how many orcs they've slain? And it's hilarious because they're literally in a battle of thousands. Well, here the people are celebrating the thousands Saul has slain and the tens of thousands that David has slain. And Saul's response is jealousy because he hasn't slain as many thousands as David. When Saul saw how successful he was afraid of him, it says in 1 Samuel 18:15. Now, Saul could have been happy for David. He should have celebrated alongside them. But instead, Saul felt threatened by David's rise to fame and power. In fact, he eventually plotted to kill David, like several times, and spent a large majority of the rest of his life chasing after him in hopes of taking David out. Which is crazy because Saul was the one who recognized David's skills and promoted him to a leadership position in the first place. So what happened? I think the author of this proverb gives us great insight about how jealousy can lead to destruction. It says, a heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones in Proverbs 14:30. If we're not careful, we can find ourselves in the same position as King Saul. Not a plot to kill our friend, but we'll discover for ourselves how jealousy of a friend can rot, destroy, and ruin us. Can destroy that friendship, can cause us to doubt our own talents, achievements, and successes. I mean, jealousy can rot how we feel about ourselves. It can kill our sense of peace. And now, just as an aside, you know who wrote that proverb? Most people believe that it was Solomon. Solomon, David's son, writing years later. The Bible doesn't tell us how he came up with the idea, but one can imagine this saying, envy rots the bones, being something that Solomon heard from his dad over and over as he was growing up, because his father, David, saw the devastating effects of jealousy firsthand. And just like Solomon learned wisdom from David's experience, so can you and I. we will constantly encounter people who seem to have better things and a better life than us. That will never stop. And sometimes that sets our heart in a strange direction. And if we aren't careful, that gut feeling of jealousy has the potential to not only ruin our relationships with others, but also ruin the way that we feel about ourselves. Okay, so jealousy, it hurts us. And it's not God's intention. It rots us from the inside out like a poison. But what are you supposed to do about it? You can't just decide not to feel something you feel. I mean, have you ever tried that? Come on. Okay, so think of someone that you're jealous of right now. Now, don't be jealous. Did that work? No, of course not. But there is something that we can do. Something that all the research in brain science says can actually help us lessen the effects of jealousy. Because you see, in the void of not being jealous, something needs to take its place. And that something is celebration. To land this plane, let's say it like this: the more I celebrate others, the more I like me. And that little saying kind of makes me uncomfortable, if I'm honest. The more I like me? I mean, that sounds selfish and trivial, but think of it this way. If we're to truly live as though we are operating from that standpoint of God's love, like we talked about last week, then in order to combat the effects of jealousy, we need to like ourselves. And I think more often that feeling as though we're not good enough in the eyes of other people, we have to be okay with ourselves. I mean, yeah, but shouldn't it be the more I love me? Like kind of sounds shallow. Okay, well, I think that we as Christians are easy at saying, well, I love everybody as Christ loves everybody. I just don't like her or him. So no, the more I celebrate others, the more I like me is pretty fitting, and it fits with the title of our series. But look, this is anything but easy. It shouldn't work, but it does. You can trick your brain into feeling less jealousy and more love and compassion. And here are two great ways to put this into practice. So, number one, start with yourself. Look at your own life and determine what's worth celebrating. Obviously, starting with how God sees you is a great place to start. Maybe to get the ball rolling, you begin thinking, what are you good at? And what do you have to be thankful for? What's good in your life right now? But you should be landing in, how does God see me? What does the Bible say about who I am? What have I been encouraged by my small group leader or a parent or a sibling? And then, you know what? Write those things down. Maybe even challenge yourself to write down one thing every day. It will help. And then, two, move toward the person that you're jealous of. When you feel that tug towards jealousy, ask yourself, what can you celebrate about the person you're jealous of? What are they good at? What are things that make you thankful for them? And write those things down too. This is going to be difficult at first, and it may seem pointless, but like all things, the more you do it and practice it, the easier it gets. You'll be amazed at how it changes how you see yourself and how you see the person you're jealous of. And something practical like this, helping us move out of the tension and into right relationship with others, it honors God in our relationships. So we're going to head to small groups here in person, but I want to remind you at home that God isn't mad at you for being jealous. He knows how much it can hurt you and your relationships, which is why he wants to set you free from it. Jealousy will rot your relationships and rot your peace, but the more you celebrate others, the more you like yourself. So who do you need to celebrate? Because you can begin to brainstorm ideas for how to celebrate others. And you can begin the immediate work of celebrating the people you're jealous of, and in turn, experiencing more freedom in your relationship with yourself and others, and honor God in the process. So what is one thing you can do this week to celebrate someone you're jealous of? Think about that, answer it for yourself, and we'll see you back here next week.